Discipline.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, and I've been through this market before, and they used to call it creative financing. And I used to be very concerned with my buyers because they all get 90 million pieces of mail telling us that you can do this and you can do this with this much down, no money down. In fact, we'll give money back to you.
We used to do AITDs, all-inclusive trustees,
Right.
where you wrap.
That's right.
We used to do that all the time.
But you have to have a disciplined buyer. If you have a young couple coming in, and I know, Charlene, you are one of a kind, but I have seen the disasters, and we saw it in the last market, and we're seeing it now, where someone has convinced these kids that they can buy something and stretch. And I've always believed that you stretch, especially the first time you buy. You know, really look at everything closely with your lender and stretch if you can. But it is very frightening when people are stating their income and are not stating it quite accurately, and then all of a sudden there's a divorce, or all of a sudden there's this, or someone loses a job, and there's no cushion, and they're dead meat, and then all of a sudden they find themselves in serious trouble, and the house value drops in a down market. The house isn't worth. It's like negative amortization, where your payment may not change, but what they're doing is taking the difference in the interest rate and tacking it on the principal. And all of a sudden, the house you paid $350,000 for, you now owe $745,000 for. 10 years later.
I'll say that, you know, one of the things is I bought my house 17 years ago, my first house, and I have another piece of property, and I took one of those negative amortization loans. And I have never refinanced it in 17 years, and obviously I could do my loan for nothing. However, I've always paid the full payment. But if ever I needed to not pay the full payment, I could.
Yeah, it allows you an option.
It does.
And it's funny how
that's discipline. I mean,
it's all about discipline.
It got me into a house.
Loans as if it's not the borrower's fault, and yet the borrower could be making that additional payment.
They could, but those loans are very good for investors. They're very good for people who are on commission, and they have some slow months, and then they have a big month, so they can pay back that deferred interest.
If they choose to pay it back,
absolutely,
and not buy a Porsche.
But those loans are, I think, very, very good loans still today under the right situation. I don't think any of the loans or any of the transactions are good if somebody has no reserves. If you don't have a little bit of cushion in case you've got a slow month, in case you lose your job,
I mean,
that's where we've gotten into trouble with these loans, or these lenders have.
Also, I mean, you know, we can't predict what our clients are going to do, but you know, when we're educating our buyers, you know, there is going to again have to be some compromises. You may have to cut back on how many times you go out to dinner and that, you know, the coffee houses that you go to, because I know of a situation where they just keep overextending themselves and keep refinancing, and there's no more to refinance, but they're not willing to, you know, cut back. They want the kids in the private schools, and they want them in this and that, and you know, and it can get somebody into trouble. So when you're going, which I think is the best thing to do, and I feel as an investment, is to get into real estate, but you have to realize that sometimes you're going to have to compromise in your life when things get a little tough, and the first thing that you're paying is your mortgage. And, you know,
and keep your credit clean.
Keep your credit clean. Yeah.
Make your payments on
time. To shift a little bit, what do you think about if we're talking to a seller? What do you think upgrades would be good, or what should a seller do if they're going to sell? Do you have any suggestions for things? Like, for example, I was reading an article about how important landscaping is, and a lot of these builders will put up these new homes, but they'll just have dirt in the back.
I think, you know, for landscaping, because you know, first impression when they're coming up, you want it to be
welcoming.
They judge the book welcoming, and you know, people judge a book by its cover, and also decluttering. Sometimes just a simple paint job can do it, just to clean up. I think decluttering and making the spaces feel inviting, and you know, have some nice ambiance. And you know what? There are people out there that, as realtors, we can recommend that will come in and say, you know, for an hourly fee, that will come in and say, you know what, this is what I would do, and help them come up.
Stage the house.
I do that as an agent all the time.
I know, but I mean, if they, you know, if the agent's not able
staging a house,
staging a house. I mean, but I mean, not the $10,000 it costs to, you know, bring all furniture in, but just
a minor staging
things, you know, and if you have kids, things you can do to, you know, have that little box there for your kids' favorite toys, just to help the house shows well every time somebody comes in.